The night has been quieter lately, but not peaceful. You've learned the difference. There is a kind of silence that heals, and then there is the silence that sits on your chest at 2 a.m. while your mind refuses to rest. The kind where you stare at the ceiling, replaying conversations you wish had gone differently, wondering why your heart still hurts from things you pretend no longer affect you. And tonight, before you scroll away, before you convince yourself this message is for someone else, you need to hear this carefully in the deepest part of your soul. Something big is about to change in your life, not someday far away, not in a vague distant future. The shift has already begun quietly and visibly beneath the surface of everything that felt stuck, and that is why the pressure has been so heavy lately. You thought you were just tired, but this exhaustion goes deeper than sleep. People around you have noticed the smile, the routine, the way you still answer messages and show up when needed, but they do not see the weight you carry when no one is watching. They do not hear the sigh you let out after closing the door behind you. They do not know how many times you sat in your car a little longer because going inside meant facing your thoughts again. And even now, there are moments where you wonder if anyone truly understands how hard you've been trying just to hold yourself together while everything inside you feels fragile. You keep saying you're okay because explaining the pain feels too exhausting. You've become skilled at hiding sadness behind productivity. You distract yourself. You stay busy. You laugh when expected. But deep down, there's a loneliness that follows you into crowded rooms. A quiet ache. A feeling that somehow everyone else received clarity for their life while you've been stuck waiting, praying, surviving, trying not to fall apart in front of people who only know the edited version of you. And still, you kept going. That matters more than. You realize there were nights you almost gave up emotionally, nights where disappointment wrapped around your chest so tightly you could barely breathe, nights when you checked your phone hoping for a message that never came, nights where you questioned your worth because someone failed to choose you, failed to stay, failed to see your heart correctly. And slowly, without meaning to, you started carrying the belief that maybe you were too much or not enough, all at the same time. But hear this. Now, your pain has been speaking to you, not defining you. There is a reason your soul has felt restless lately. A reason old habits no longer satisfy you. A reason certain doors closed even when you begged for them to remain open. You thought your life was falling apart, but some things had to break so you would stop building your future around people and places that were draining your spirit quietly. What felt like rejection was often protection. What felt like delay was preparation. And what felt like abandonment was actually the beginning of your transformation, even if you could not see it yet. Because the version of you that is about to emerge cannot carry everything you've been dragging through this season. Not the constant self-doubt, not the fear of being left behind, not the exhausting need to prove your worth to people who only notice you when you're useful to them. You were never created just to survive emotionally from one painful day to the next. You were meant to live. Again, and somewhere along the way you forgot that. You forgot how powerful your heart still is beneath the bruises. You forgot how much strength it took to survive everything that almost broke you. You became so focused on what you lost that you stopped realizing how much of yourself remained standing after the storm. Yes, you've cried. Yes, you've questioned everything. Yes, there were mornings you woke up already emotionally tired before the day even began. But despite all of that, you are still here, still breathing, still hoping, even if only in tiny hidden ways. That quiet hope inside you is not accidental. Something is shifting. You may not see it fully yet, but the heaviness you've been carrying will not follow you forever. There are blessings forming in silence right now, conversations being aligned, doors being prepared, healing unfolding slowly in places inside you that you thought would stay broken forever. And the strange thing about transformation is that it often begins in darkness. Seeds grow underground before anyone sees evidence of life. Dawn begins while the world still thinks it's night. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now, in the unseen beginning of a new chapter. You've been asking for signs while overlooking your survival. You've been waiting for dramatic miracles while smaller miracles quietly kept you alive. The fact that you still care after being disappointed so many times, the fact that you still keep showing up, the fact that you still keep That is a miracle. The fact that your heart still wants love after experiencing abandonment, that is a miracle. The fact that you are listening to this message tonight instead of completely shutting down emotionally, that matters more than you know. You are not as forgotten as you feel. Some of the hardest battles you fought were invisible. Nobody clapped for you when you forced yourself out of bed during depression. Nobody saw the tears you wiped away before entering a room full of people. Nobody knew how badly you wanted someone to ask if you were truly okay instead of assuming you were strong enough to handle everything alone. And because you carried it silently, people underestimated the weight of your suffering. But I never stopped seeing you. I saw the nights where anxiety made your thoughts race until sunrise. I saw the moments where fear convinced you your future would never change. I saw the disappointment in your eyes after praying for something that still did not happen. And I know there were moments you felt spiritually distant, moments where you wondered if your prayers were even reaching beyond the ceiling. But silence does not mean absence. Sometimes the greatest changes are happening in places you cannot yet touch with your hands. Right now, your life may feel uncertain. You may still be waiting for answers about your relationships, your purpose, your finances, your healing, your future. But uncertainty is not the same thing as hopelessness. You have been in a season where everything felt delayed, but delay is not denial. There are parts of your story still unfolding that you cannot judge too early. You are standing in the middle pages, not the ending. And the middle often feels confusing. That's why your heart has been tired. You've been carrying unanswered questions for too long. You've been trying to stay positive while secretly feeling discouraged. You've been giving encouragement to everyone else while your own soul quietly starved for comfort. And there were moments where you wondered if anyone would ever pour back into you the way you pour into others. They will. But first you must stop abandoning yourself. You cannot continue speaking gently to everyone except your own heart. You cannot keep calling yourself worthless every time life becomes difficult. You cannot continue believing that your mistakes erased your value. The pain you experience may explain your fears, but it does not get to decide your identity. You are not behind in life. You are not permanently broken. You are not too damaged to be loved deeply. And you are not being punished by every closed door. Some endings were necessary because you kept settling for less than the peace you deserved. You kept shrinking yourself so people would stay comfortable around you. You kept accepting half-hearted love because loneliness scared you more than disappointment. You kept waiting for people to become who they promised they would be, while ignoring how consistently they failed to protect your heart. And eventually, exhaustion forced you to confront a painful truth. You cannot heal in environments that keep reopening your wounds. That realization hurt, but it also saved you. Because now, slowly, your spirit is waking up again. You are beginning to notice what drains you. You are beginning to recognize when your intuition whispers warnings. You are beginning to understand that peace is not weakness. And though you still have moments of sadness, there is something new growing beneath the grief. A quiet strength, a deeper wisdom, a softer kind of courage that no longer needs constant validation from others. That is growth. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. And the change coming into your life will not only affect your circumstances, it will affect you internally. The way you see yourself will begin to change. The way you tolerate disrespect will begin to change. The way you carry your energy, your boundaries, your hope, all of it is shifting. The old version of you kept begging for acceptance. The healed version of you will stop chasing people who are determined to misunderstand your heart. There is freedom coming. Can you feel it? Even now, beneath your anxiety, there is a small part of you that senses this message is not random. Something inside you knows you are standing near a breakthrough, even if your current situation still looks messy. And that is often how transformation begins. Before the breakthrough appears externally, it awakens internally first. You begin thinking differently, breathing differently, believing differently. You stop expecting disaster every time something good enters your life. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop carrying responsibility for wounds you did not create. And one day, without realizing exactly when it happened, you notice the heaviness no longer controls you the way it once did. The tears still come sometimes, but they no longer drown you. The memories still hurt sometimes, but they no longer define you. The fear still whispers sometimes, but it no longer owns your future. That day is closer than you think. And there is someone listening right now who desperately needed to hear this, because lately you've been losing hope quietly. You've been functioning outwardly while emotionally collapsing inwardly. You've been trying to stay strong for everyone else while secretly wondering who will stay strong for you. You've questioned whether your life will ever truly feel peaceful again. It will, not perfectly, not instantly. There are moments ahead of you that will heal places inside your heart you thought would remain wounded forever. There are people ahead of you who will speak to you with gentleness instead of manipulation. There are mornings ahead of you where your first feeling will not be dread. There is laughter coming back to your spirit. There is rest coming back to your nervous system. There is clarity coming back to your mind. You have suffered enough in silence. The waiting season has been long because it was changing you at the root. You were learning endurance, discernment, emotional honesty. You were learning that your worth cannot be measured by who stayed or who left. You were learning that sometimes losing certain people is what finally makes room for yourself again. And though you hated this season at times, one day you will realize it reshaped you into someone wiser, softer, stronger, and more emotionally awake than before. Do not rush this transformation. The healing happening inside you deserves patience. There are still parts of your heart learning how to trust again after disappointment. There are still wounds learning how to close. There are still fears trying to convince you that nothing will ever improve. But fear is loud when change is near. Anxiety often grows strongest right before breakthrough because the old version of your life senses it cannot follow you where you're going. So breathe slowly tonight. You do not have to carry tomorrow all at once. You do not have to solve your entire future before sunrise. You do not need every answer immediately to believe that good things are still possible for your life. Sometimes healing begins simply by deciding not to give up on yourself anymore. And maybe that decision starts tonight. Maybe tonight is the night you stop calling yourself weak for feeling deeply. Maybe tonight is the night you stop measuring your worth through rejection. Maybe tonight is the night you finally understand that surviving everything you survived already proves there is something powerful inside you. You are more resilient than your sadness admits, more loved than your loneliness suggests, more important than your anxiety allows you to believe, and your story is not ending in this painful chapter. Something beautiful is being prepared through all of this. Even the delays, even the heartbreak, even the loneliness, even the unanswered questions. None of it was meaningless. Every painful season carried lessons your future self will one day thank you for surviving. And when the change finally becomes visible, when the breakthrough arrives, when the peace enters your life in ways you once prayed for through tears, you will realize that you were never abandoned during the waiting. You were being strengthened quietly for the life ahead of you. So tonight, release the pressure to have everything figured out. Release the belief that you are running out of time. Release the fear that you missed your chance at happiness. Your life is not over because one chapter hurt deeply. There is still purpose inside you, still beauty inside you, still light inside you even after everything. And if your heart feels tired tonight, rest here for a moment. You do not need to pretend anymore. You do not need to perform strength here. You are allowed to admit that some days have been unbearably hard. You are allowed to confess that you've been scared. You are allowed to say you miss who you used to be before. Life became so heavy. And still, none of that disqualifies you from the love, healing, peace, and restoration coming toward you now. You are not too far gone. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. Something big is about to change in your life. The sadness will not own you forever. The waiting will not last forever. The confusion will not last forever. One day soon you will wake up and realize the thing you begged for in tears has finally arrived quietly in your life, and your heart will finally exhale after carrying survival mode for so long. Until then, keep going, even slowly, even imperfectly, even with trembling faith, especially then. And tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart for a moment and breathe deeply. Let this truth settle into the broken places inside you. You are still being guided even when the path feels unclear. You are still deeply loved even when loneliness becomes overwhelming. You are still chosen even when rejection bruises your confidence. And the future ahead of you still contains unexpected joy. Your breakthrough did not disappear. It is finding its way to you now. If this message reached you at the exact moment you needed it, comment Amen below. Subscribe to the channel so these messages can continue finding you during the nights you need comfort most. And share this with someone who has been carrying silent pain alone, because they may need this reminder more than they can explain.